Chapter 5, The Graduate.
I woke up this morning, tied my boots up, 'cause I knew it was gonna be a long day working.
Back in the late 1990s, I worked security at the Mix Factory. It was a really popular club in Nashville during that time, and it had a pretty rowdy crowd. My job was delivering drunk people out the front doors to the police. Little did I know, that security gig prepared me for how to deal with drunk fans when I'm on stage now. Eventually, I worked my way up to the VIP security and happened to catch a glimpse of Haystack hanging out. By this point, I was a big fan and admired what he was doing. I saw him live at Stampede back in 2000, but didn't get a chance to meet him until I reached out to his people to try to get him for a feature. Now, I would like to remind everyone that I never called myself a country rapper. I'm just a rapper that grew up in the country. I worked with anyone I thought was talented. This crew of really young gangster dudes in Nashville reached out to me and asked me to film a documentary. Think 6 months of following some street dudes around hustling in the city. We had a rule that if we were filming guns, they couldn't be loaded. They put the ammo in their pants, and when they aimed their guns and jumped towards the camera and me, you could hear the tink of the bullets in their pockets. I spent countless hours filming and editing the documentary and learned so much through the process. I really enjoyed it and was getting pretty good, so I was stoked when I saw a Make Your Own Scary Movie contest on Good Morning America. Since Andy and I had been horror movie buddies for forever, we decided to write a short film based on The Mackenzies from John Carpenter's Halloween. Jamie Lee Curtis's character tells the kids to run to the Mackenzies for help when Michael Myers is chasing them. In our film, campers are attacked and run through a cornfield for help. They knock on the door of the Mackenzies, who turn out to be cannibals. Plot twist. We had so much fun making the film. Orig played the main role, and we even made the film score. We didn't win the contest, but we learned so much about acting and editing. GMA, if you'd like to discuss the book or check out the Mackenzies, just let me know. Andy Muehlhauser.
My mom and dad actually played the Mackenzies.
Orig and I enjoyed incorporating the film aspect into our projects, so we decided to just film everything we did. I have boxes full of tapes from back in those days. By that time, I could produce a cheap music video pretty quick, so I looked at it as easy money. I was hired to film a segment of the 2007 Nashville Hip Hop Awards for the rapper Little Blaze. I found out that they were in contact with Haystack, so I asked them to reach out for a feature. Haystack showed up at the studio in a Suburban with an entourage. We chopped it up on the front porch of the studio for a bit, and then he hopped in the booth. He basically freestyled the feature, listening and recording a line at a time. I was a big fan by this point of Stack's career, so I took note of everything he did that day. He was impressed by the True South album and all the digital work I was capable of. We hit it off instantly, and he let me know that he would be in touch if he needed me to do any work for him. Little did I know that day would change the rest of my life. 3 days later, I loaded all my gear up in the back of my Ford Escort station wagon and took off on the 9-hour trek to Augusta, Georgia to film for him. We had a great time on that trip, and I was excited to get to play such a key role. After Augusta, I thought it would be cool if we did a show in my hometown. He could be the headliner, and I would open up for him. The show was sold out, and we nearly tore the house down. It was an awesome show, and we even performed the song Raised in the South that we recorded at my house the first day we met. Not long after that, Stack asked would I go with him on tour to help out. Haystack.
I'm proud of SMO because he's an alumnus of Haystack U, and he's proud of it. I first met him on January 8th, 2008. I remember that because it was a week after New Year's. SMO showed me some hard work he had done, and I was impressed. I was like, hey, how about this? You shoot videos for me and do visuals for me, and he was all over it. I told him, here's the thing, it's not the greatest paying job, but I'll pay you something and let you sell your own brand of merchandise to my crowd.
The job was a 32-date tour, being Stack's hype man as the opening act for the Insane Clown Posse's Dark Lotus tour in 2009. Hype man is a very loose term to describe my job duties with Haystack. He's a particular guy and expects things to be done a certain way, so I learned very quickly what he preferred and how to provide for him so the tour went smoothly. Basically, I just helped him out however he needed. While Stack napped before a show, I made sure to get his standard Wendy's order: 2 double stacks, 2 large fries, and a large Diet Mountain Dew. I'd put a couple of fresh packs of his favorite smokes on his bedside table and set all of the food in front of his fan by his bunk. He would wake up happy and ready to perform. Some of my other tasks were doing laundry, cleaning the bus, and getting towels and water ready for the show. I poked holes in the water bottles so we could squirt them in our mouths for a drink or on the crowd for effect. They always loved that, and I still use that trick in my own show today. I cannot begin to list all the things I learned during the 3.5 years I worked for Haystack, but I'll share some of the most important. First of all, I learned how to do sound check. Over time, I had gotten good enough with knowing how Stack wanted us to sound, so he just turned sound check over to me and went and did more important things. I also learned it's easier to sign someone's shirt if you tell them to turn around and use their back. Sounds simple, but it's a lifesaver when you don't have a merch table. Haystack.
You know, Smo watched everything I did when he was first out on the road with me, and I was very serious with him. He saw that it wasn't a game, and he learned fast.
We had a lot of fun on that tour, and I was eager because I was experiencing things in the industry I had never gotten to see before. I had never traveled on a tour bus, so I've learned the good and the bad of that life. I tried to learn all the jobs on the tour because I dreamed one day I would have my own. I dove right in, willing to do everything. Quickly, I learned that ICP has a very loyal fan following. They are hard to impress, so we knew we only had the first 30 seconds of Stack's set to win their favor, or we would be doused in all flavors of Faygo. We wrote a banger in the country kitchen with their fans in mind, and luckily, at most shows, it paid off. Obviously, pretty much all of the crowd had come to see them, but slowly we were gaining fans. Haystack.
I'll never forget, we were microphone 6 and 7, and these audiences didn't want to see us. So to go out in front of 1,000 people, and on the eastern seaboard in Baltimore, we might have 5-10 fans in the house, and we had to convert them every night. You know, Smo watched everything I did when he was first out on the road with me, and I was very serious with him. He saw that it wasn't a game, and he learned fast. With Smo, he didn't do cowboy boots. He had his own style, and it worked. Timberland-style work boots, jeans, t-shirt, that's what Smo was doing when I met him. I said, that's the look, and he stayed with that formula. That was a big chance for him to take too, because when I first met him, Smo had a lot invested in another style of rap that was more street or gangster style, so it was a big gamble for him. I was a hard guy to work for, but Smo got the concept, and we worked well together.
We had the same pre-show routine I still do today. Mic check, outfit check, and vocal warm-up. It was an incredible experience sharing the stage with Stack. I was performing for the biggest crowds I'd ever stepped foot in front of. It was humbling to say the least, but it was also so exciting. We were totally in sync on stage and the crowd loved our energy. Over the course of the tour, I really grew as a performer, and I'm still thankful to this day to have been given such an amazing opportunity. After the 30-minute set, I sold merchandise and helped Stack with fans. He let me have a table to the side to sell the True South CDs and my own shirts. I really appreciate that Haystack was so willing to share his fan base, and I'm thankful they were so receptive to my music. Stack even helped me create my first autograph back then, 10-4 Big Smo. The tour bus ran on biodiesel, so another one of my job duties was siphoning old grease from fast food restaurants in the middle of the night after shows. Sometimes the night crew would know about Haystack and would hook us up with food and give us the grease. Other times, we just had to find somewhere we could take it. So one of my jobs was pumping the fast food grease into our tour bus. Being around other acts on the tour, I realized that they had names for their fans. Stack had the CWBs, and ICP had the Juggalos and Juggalettes. I was inspired and I knew I needed to find a name for my fans, but I still wasn't sure what yet. We ended the tour in Nashville at a packed show at the Wild Horse Saloon. After the tour, I worked twice as hard on my own music. I used the momentum to create more content and I performed any chance I could. Haystack had the idea to create a mini movie for his Clinging to Life project. The concept was to shoot Stack in a hospital fighting for his life from a gunshot wound. I reached out to some friends of mine who let us use the hospital, complete with life flight and real emergency staff. Stack let me create all the special effects and I shot the entire film. He trusted me a lot to try my own style and ideas and was an excellent test subject in my early film years. The movie turned out to be a success, yet was never released. However, I'm still proud of that project today. 3.5 years passed during the time I worked for Stack. We were traveling a lot and I was working on my own projects as well as the one Stack and I were doing together. It had gotten to be a lot trying to be the opening act, the hype man, and the assistant, all the while trying to focus on being the artist myself. It was time to graduate from the University of Haystack. Haystack.
SMO was becoming such an entity that the time came when we had to become two different entities. Around me, he was always going to be a number 2 guy, and I wanted him to go and do his own thing. He did and made history.